Hi, welcome back to my channel. My name's Karen, this is the Northern Magpie, and on this channel we focus mainly on crochet amigurumi. I show you the projects that I'm making, the patterns that I used, and I wanted to share with you some of the projects that I've made over the last few weeks. The first project was, this was the first one that I made. This is the 5-in-1 Little Ones Wildcats crochet pattern by Cut Craft Patterns LX on Etsy. And this is the tiger. There are 5 cats in the bundle. I believe there's also a lion, a caracal, a lynx, and a panther. This obviously is the tiger. I still haven't watched K-pop Demon Hunters, but I was really taken by the color combinations of the tiger that's in the movie. So I decided to try and make my own version using this pattern. This is done in Parfait Chunky, and I believe I used a 5mm hook. And as you can see, we got a little bit of crooked color change going on here. And I think that this is because I instinctively use the yarn over method rather than using the yarn over method, which is supposed to be better for amigurumi. Supposedly it causes less traveling of the stitches. So I'm gonna have to try that. But all in all, I'm pretty happy with how this guy came out. I did attempt to paint his eyes similarly to the tiger in the movie. Not sure if you can see that. I really enjoyed this pattern. It was surprisingly easy. In reading through the pattern, I actually thought that I was going to have a lot more problems with it than I did. And it actually went fairly smoothly. Some of the parts were difficult. I found putting the ears on kind of difficult. And then when I tried to do the striping, you'll notice the striping is not finished. And that's because I discovered how hard it is to sew with Parfait Chunky. I mean, it was just shedding everywhere. I had big bare spots in the yarn. It just wasn't working. But my husband loves him just the way he is and has actually claimed him. He sits in the cup holder that's on our couch beside him as he watches his hockey or his shows at night. So I think I'm probably going to redo this tiger in maybe some different colors. I'd also like to make some of the other patterns in the bundle. The lion has a very fluffy mane, which I believe is just yarn that's been brushed out. So that would be really interesting to try. The next pattern is one that I actually showed on this channel before as a whip. This is Taurus the Zodiac Spirit by Red Mills Crochet, and I love how this came out. I think she's absolutely adorable. The eyes are hand painted. I don't know if you'll be able to see that. I crocheted her in Sweet Snuggles Light, and this is just a generic fur yarn that I found on Amazon that actually worked really well, so I was really happy with that. I gave her little eyelids because she seemed to look a little bug-eyed. I didn't have any of the, when I painted the eyes for her, I didn't have any of the moon eyes or like the offset eyes. So I used the eyes that had the center pupil, and she looks very shocked without the eyelids. So I did give her eyelids, and I think I'm gonna have to glue them down just because the slippery yarn and the slippery eye, it tends to get out of place a lot. So I also, rather than doing the pattern calls for embroidery on the forehead, and rather than doing that, since I have a background in jewelry making, I decided to make her a little forehead charm. So yeah, so the body was done in Sweet Snuggles Light with a 5mm hook. And then the horns are done in a worsted weight. I believe it's Bernat Premium worsted weight. That is the tan color. And then the green color is Caron Luster. So it does actually have a shine to it. I don't know if you'll be able to tell on camera, but I really enjoyed making her. She's got fuzzies on her from the stuffing. That was one thing that I found actually. You're supposed to crochet the tail and then stuff it and then surface crochet this spiral detail that goes around it. And I found that when I was doing that, I don't know if you can see, but I'd get little hairs from the stuffing coming out with my hook as I was doing the surface crochet. And I don't know how to avoid that. If somebody knows, please let me know. I'm still very new at surface crochet, so it's possible that there was a problem with my technique. But yeah, there's Taurus. So the next thing I made was actually the next 4 things are stuffies that I made for my son. He is very much into frogs, has been since he was like 5, I believe. And he's also been, lately he's been playing a lot of Minecraft and trying to breed a blue axolotl in Minecraft, which apparently is very rare, and he's been trying for a really long time and hasn't had any success. So I decided to make him a blue axolotl for his birthday. His birthday just went by about a week or so ago. And so this pattern is Ariswin, the baby axolotl by Pink Mew Crochet. And I just love this. This is the cutest thing ever. It was so much fun to crochet. And the pattern was really clear for someone like me who was doing a lot of new techniques that I'd never tried before. It was very, very well explained, very easy for me to follow. I made this in Bernat Blanket Mystical. This is Crystal Ocean, I believe. And then the gold here is, I think it's called Sunshine. I used a 6mm hook. I wanted to make sure that it was going to be fairly tightly crocheted just because my son can sometimes be a little bit rough with his things. So I wanted to make sure that it would stand up to whatever it went through. I did make a couple of changes from the pattern. I didn't realize actually until I had crocheted all of the body that it was meant to be a snuggler, that where the body isn't stuffed. I thought that my son would probably prefer a body that was stuffed. So I tried stuffing it and it looked good. I think it looks great being stuffed. So I went with that. Also, in the pattern, this fin here goes from side to side on the tail, and I decided to do it front to back and all the way up the back to the back of the head, just to make it look more like the axolotl from Minecraft. The eyes are just 30mm eyes with the glitter backing. I found it was a little challenging to get the gills crocheted on. I kind of felt like I had 3 thumbs at several points, but overall I'm really happy with how she turned out, and I think she's fantastic, and I absolutely love this pattern. So yeah, and he really loves her too. So as I mentioned, my son loves frogs, so I made myself a little bit of a challenge to try and crochet as many frogs as I could for his birthday, but being new to crochet, I'm still pretty slow, and I'm also still learning some of the techniques, so there was a lot of points where I had to kind of stop and read and try something and then undo it and do it again. So I only actually got 3 frogs done in time for his birthday. So this is Fabian the Frog by Crochet by KTC on Etsy. And I'll have the links for all of the patterns down in the description. So this guy, I've been wanting to make this guy for a while, ever since I first started searching for frog patterns a couple of months ago. And which incidentally is kind of how I got into crochet, because I knew I wanted to make some frogs for Justin's birthday. And at that point in time, I hadn't learned to crochet yet. I was knitting, and there were very, very few knitted frog patterns that I liked. But I kept running across crochet patterns for frogs that I really liked. So I guess looking for frog patterns for Justin's birthday is what really got me into crochet. So anyways, this guy is done in Bernat Blanket Mystical. I'm afraid I cannot remember the name of the color, but I used a 6mm hook as well. And he was a lot of fun to make. It was very quick to make. The only thing I don't understand why the toes curl up. Justin doesn't seem to care. Justin really likes him. But anyways, there he is. And I believe those are 18mm safety eyes that I used with him. So the next thing I tried making was an orange frog, because Justin also has his own YouTube channel, and he started doing podcasts, basically gaming related stuff, game dev related stuff. And he has what's called the Orange Frog Podcast. His avatar is this little orange frog. He doesn't put his own face on his videos. He just uses the orange frog. So I attempted to make a mascot for him. This is the Rainforest Frog pattern by, let me check, by TNT Patterns on Etsy. This is Bernat Blanket Brights in Carrot Orange. And this one also has 18mm eyes. And I did the little eye shine around, but I don't know if I really did it properly. And how do you do it without getting the little hairs from the stuffing? Like, look at that. This is so annoying. You got all the little hairs coming out from the stuffing when you sew through the stuffing. So I must be doing something wrong. I don't know what it is. But so this is the first orange frog that I tried making for him. This was a great pattern, very easy, very quick to do. And he really liked it. But I wanted to keep looking, because it didn't really look like the orange frog that Justin has on his YouTube. So I went looking to try and find a better representation of the orange frog mascot. And I came across, it was actually a frog chalk bag. This is by Crafty Tibbles. And I love her patterns. She's fantastic. But I didn't want a chalk bag. I wanted to try making it into a plush. So this is the orange frog. So basically all I did was I followed the pattern up to about here. And then the designers left the top open so that you can sew a lining in for your chalk bag. So what I did was I basically just kind of decreased, freehanded decreased. I honestly don't remember what I did, but I just closed it up on the top. And I tried to match the mouth that Justin has on his frog. And then the eyes are 30mm eyes. And I didn't have time. This was like right before his birthday. I actually finished this on the day of his birthday. And so these eyes, I didn't have time to paint the backs white. So what this is you get the little glitter backings with the eyes when you order the eyes. And on the back of that, it's white. So that's basically what I did, was I just took the little glitter discs and flipped them around so that it was the white backing. And so here is the frog. And just to try and get him to sit a little bit better, I weighted him with, so this is interesting. I went on Amazon looking for poly pellets because I wanted something to add some weight to some of my stuffies. And while I was looking at poly pellets, which are horrendously expensive, I ran across, it's made for cornhole bags. And what it is it's like fake corn that looks like little fake corn niblets. And it was a lot cheaper than the poly pellets. And I thought, well, that can work. Why wouldn't that work? So that's what I did. I took a good sized handful of those. I ordered those, and I took a good sized handful and wrapped them up in a piece of pantyhose and stuck it in there before I finished stuffing him and sewing him up. And so he's got a really good weight to him now, which surprises everybody when they pick him up. They're, oh wow, he's heavy. But yeah, Justin knew right away when he saw it what it was meant to be. So I didn't make the pink headphones that Justin's frog is wearing, and I think I would like to, but I just haven't quite figured that out yet. So possibly in the future. So I also wanted to tell you about a challenge that I'm doing. I think I had mentioned before in one of my earlier videos about possibly doing a duck a day for 30 days or something like that. I actually ran across a pattern. It's called the Ultimate Chibi Birds Bundle, and it is by Joanna Amigurumi. And there are 50 birds in the pattern. And I just thought, perfect. So I have started a challenge where I'm crocheting one of these birds every day for 50 days. So I thought, to make it more fun, rather than doing the birds all in the order that they are in the pattern, I am randomly drawing a bird's name every day and making that bird for the day. So I took all the bird names and I cut them into little strips of paper and I put them in a teapot. And don't ask me why a teapot. It was the best thing I could think of. And every day I pull a name and I crochet that bird for the day. And if you've been following me, you might have noticed that I've been posting shorts for every day. I post the short of the bird for the day. But I'll show them all to you here. So this was day one, the very first bird. This is the American herring gull. And when I pulled this name, I went looking for the colors and realized, whoops, he's got fuzzy on him. I realized I didn't have a dark gray. So what I ended up doing was taking this yarn and basically just taking the gray sections and crocheting with just the gray sections to do all of this in the back. So that was interesting. That was day one. Day two is the paradise tanager. And he's got a cute little red butt. I forgot to mention, I'm making all of these, all of them so far, I'm using either Bernat Blanket or Mainstays Cozy Chenille, I believe it's called. Cozy Chenille Supreme. This is the other one, because I can get that at my local Walmart. So that's day two, the paradise tanager. Day three was the common kingfisher. So here's this little guy. And this was all Bernat Blanket. And day four, this guy is the favorite of a lot of people so far, and that is the leghorn chicken. And he is adorable. I just really love him. Also forgot to mention, I'm using a 6mm hook, and all of the eyes are 12mm safety eyes. So this was fun, surface crocheting the comb on. That was interesting. So that was day 4. Day 5 is the scarlet macaw. I've actually started a routine now where I get up pretty early. I'm up anywhere between 5 and 7, usually around 6 o'clock in the morning. And nobody else in my house gets up until 7:30, 8, sometimes 9. So I'm always the first one up. So I have this little routine now where at night before I go to bed, I pull out my colors for the bird for the next day and put them by my chair in the living room. And then when I get up in the morning, I go out there, I make my coffee, I sit down, and I crochet my bird for the day. So that's day 5. Day 6, I love this guy. He's so adorable. This is the turkey vulture, and he's just too cute. This is actually Bernat Baby Petal Pink. And I had a bit of an issue trying to find a good color and had this one sitting in the back of my stash and just sort of happened to see it one day while I was looking for something else and went, oh my gosh, there we go. It's a perfect color for the vultures. The vulture and I believe maybe the flamingo, but we shall see when we get to the flamingo. So that was day 6 and day 7. This is the last one I'm going to show you today. I'll show you the next 7 in my next video, but this is the rose-breasted grosbeak. And I just love the color changes. And these little wings are just so adorable. And I adore these birds. This is just so much fun. It's gotten to be one of the best parts of my day is getting up in the morning and making my bird for the day. So I have something else that I wanted to share with you guys. And okay, when I was first looking at crochet patterns, I thought maybe something like a pickle would be an easy shape to crochet, right? Just like a tube, rounded on the ends. But I was still learning the whole shaping, increasing, decreasing, that sort of thing. So I went looking on Etsy for a pickle pattern. And I was surprised because all of the patterns I was finding were either for positive pickles or emotional support pickles or basically just happy pickles. And okay, number 1, I'm not a big fan of pickles. I don't really like them. Number 2, if somebody stuck me in a jar of vinegar for months on end, I would not be very positive. I would be a very grumpy pickle. So a little while ago, about a week or so ago, I decided that I wanted to try making a grumpy pickle. And so this is Petey. Petey is a grumpy pickle. And this is my first attempt at making my own pattern from scratch. And while there are definitely some things that could use improvement, I really like how he came out. And he makes me giggle every time I look at him and I see how grumpy he is. And right now he is sitting, I'll put a picture up, but he's sitting on the shelf beside this lineup of birds from the 50 Birds in 50 Days challenge. And it's a hilarious picture because he just looks like he's sitting there going, these darn birds, they're everywhere. And it makes me laugh every time. So yeah, so that's Petey. So my biggest whip that I have going on at the moment is, this is a pattern called Wisp, the Wendigo Dragon. And there was just something, can't even get him all in frame, I don't think, but there is just something about a Wendigo dragon that I thought was a really cool idea. So far I've got his head and body done. and I have 2 legs. So I still have 2 more legs to do, and I have the horns to do and the wings. And then there's also, he's got a ruff, a gray ruff of fur around his neck and on the end of his tail. So I still have those things to do. But I wanted to show you these eyes. When I decided that I wanted to do this pattern, I thought it would be really cool to have eyes that have little bones on them, being a Wendigo and the myths that go along with that, and that the traditional description of a Wendigo is like a tall skeletal figure. So anyways, I got some eyes with the white pupils. These are 30mm sinker eyes. And I went looking for bone-shaped glitter. You know how you can get glitter in all different kinds of shapes and sizes? Mostly I think it's meant for nail art or resin. But anyways, I went looking for, I wanted bones and I wanted skulls. And after a lot of searching, I did manage to find bones. So there's a close-up of the eyes with the bone-shaped glitter. You would not believe how hard it is to find glitter in the shape of a skull. You can find glitter in the shape of almost anything, like umbrellas, witches, handcuffs, but not skulls. I finally managed to find a holographic mix of glitter that had some skulls in it. So I went with that, but that was literally the only thing I could find with plain skulls, like not the skull and crossbones or anything like that, just the skull. So I did make a couple other sets of eyes as well, and I'll put them up on the screen. These are the ones that I went with just because I kind of like these ones the best for this. I'm sure I'll use the other ones in some other project. But yeah, that's Wisp the Wendigo Dragon. He is Bernat Blanket. I'm using vintage white and coal and a 6mm hook. I have to say, I finished one of the legs yesterday, and then I finished a second leg this morning, and I'm not quite sure what happened there. You see this? What is that? So I'm gonna have to go over them row by row, figure out which one is wrong, and fix it. So I do have a couple more whips, but I don't have them with me at the moment. But you'll see those in future videos when they are done. If anyone's wondering about the Rainbow Kraken, I am still bobbling. There are so many bobbles on the tentacles. And I think because they're small, I'm doing it using a 4mm hook and worsted weight yarn. Because they're so small, it's really hard on my wrists. I end up with really tight tension doing those little bobbles. And I can only do a couple of bobbles and then I have to stop and move on to something else. But I also have a couple other big challenges coming up. I'll just give you a hint. One of the challenges, I'm taking an animal and I'm making the smallest that I can, and I'm also making the biggest that I can. So I'm not sure when that will come out. That's going very slowly because this is another case of the big yarn means that I have to use a big hook, which means there's a lot of tension involved and I can only do a little bit at a time. But anyways, thank you so much for joining me today. If you would like to follow along with the Bird a Day, 50 Birds in 50 Days series, subscribe and you will get the short sent to you every day, I believe. Honestly, I'm still figuring out how YouTube and shorts and all this kind of stuff works. But yeah, so hopefully it will not be as long before my next video. I kind of have to work around my husband because my husband works from home and his office is right beside my crafting area where I film. And so if he's in a meeting, I can't be noisy. So, and I have this weird thing about if he's in his office and it's super quiet, I don't want him hearing me filming. It's weird. I know. I don't get it. Anyways, thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please hit the like button. I'd love to hear any comments that you have, and I'll see you next time. Bye.